we'll keep the fires burning all the way to launch.
Okay. You mentioned several times about the game having tactical combat, and we were looking the other day at the original Wasteland box. That was actually a bullet point on the back of the original Wasteland box. Can you expand on the concept of how you see the tactical combat fitting into the universe?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people give us reference points. They give Fallout Tactics. They give Jagged Alliance as tactical combat systems. Temple of Elemental Evil, I think, comes up a lot. And we're familiar with those systems, and there's a lot of those things that we like. But I think it needs to be somewhere between something really hardcore and something that's a little bit lighter, where there are times so that we can get you through the combat quickly. We don't want to have you too bogged down where you're in these long tactical battles, and then you kind of lose the immersiveness of the world when you're tied down for so long. But that's not to say it's not going to be very tactical, but I think we need to find that fine line between it and giving the player the ability to get through situations quickly. We don't want to have you stumble upon one creature and then it becomes a sort of groaning effect. You got to get everybody into place when you just want to get through a simple combat very quickly. So I think we need to find that right combination, and we'll be doing that again through the forums and through beta testing.
What are some of your favorite memories of either the Wasteland development, the original one, or in some of your personal playthroughs of the game itself?
Well, Alan Pavlish is one of my favorite memories, of course, right, Alan? It's amazing. Alan, we played poker the other night with Alan, and I'm like, hey, deja vu. Well, we're still doing the same thing 20 years later.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Did he try to lower the stakes of the poker game down to dollar poker?
I think the way Alan dressed back then was kind of some of my highlights. I think,
We're back in the 80s.
I think the white snake and the rat shirts with the sleeveless stuff. I mean, that was.
I was going to dig it out for tonight. You said don't.
I'm a little disappointed you did. No, I didn't say it. No, I didn't say it. No, I would have highly encouraged that. Trust me. I think the best part, when we did games back then, I think, what was the original Wasteland budget? Like $100 grand or something?
If that.
A couple $100 grand. It was pretty low. And, when we used to make games for less money, people weren't as insane. Now with so much money at stake, people are, on high tension, and whenever you want to make changes, they all freak out, and it was a much more of a tinkering process.
Well, I just remember us being a bunch of kids making games. I kind of look at the industry today, all the Facebook games and all these young kids dominating the gaming today, and it's kind of like what we were doing, only there wasn't as much money in it. And we were just kids making games because we made games that we liked to play and have fun with.
Yeah.
And that was my experience. Like, just make something. We had no idea how much we would sell or the budget. Let's just go make a fun game, something that we like to play.
Yeah. There was no dream of being rich making video games back then.
No.
There was just that just wasn't happening.
There was no money in it.
It was just a hobby business, and we were all just happy that we could make a living doing it.
Absolutely.
Basically,
I pinch myself every day. I get paid to make games. Like, how much more fun
I just want to do
have?
computer stuff. Right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
If it wasn't games, it would have been something computer related.
Exactly.
So so I think the fond memory. There was just a great camaraderie that was back then, and kind of a purity, right?
Absolutely.
And the nerds. Us. We were in charge.
we were in
charge back then.
The nerds.
The gamers, as we say now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Much prefer the term gamers.
Yes.
So, Alan, do you have any other anecdotes from the development period, the original Wasteland, you can share with our audience?
It was so far. Had I known to become the cult classic it was, I would have written a diary at the time. I had no idea, but just a few things that stick out in my mind was actually the end of the project. And remember, Electronic Arts was coming out. They do these great photos of the development team. They always do something in spirit, or with the in spirit of the game. And so this is Mad Max inspired. So I just remember, we're almost done. We're going to launch. Let's go make a kick-ass photo, right? And so, with Mad Max, we went to a costume company in Hollywood. There's literally like 10 stories, and every story is like 3 levels of costumes, thousands and thousands of costumes, and from all these movies that so-and-so, a big famous actor, wore that in this movie. You're like, oh, wow, you can actually rent this stuff? Yeah, you can rent it for Halloween. People rent stuff for all the time for Halloween there. So we went there for a day and picked out our costumes, and went out and did a photo shoot out in where was it?
I don't know where you guys
went. Where you went? This photo shoot.
Salton Sea?
Salton Sea, yeah.
We didn't go to Salton Sea. We went to that.
It was out in Salton Sea. Went out for the day, and took a really great picture, and that was kind of the icing on the cake for us is spending the year and a half or 2 years we made the game and just had all the core team on it. So that was a really That was probably one of the best memories.
You know what most people don't remember was that, Wasteland was a good success, but it was not the success that it could have been because EA released it the same week as Bard's Tale 3. I know.
Really?
Remember that. Yeah, and I remember being frustrated because
competing with yourself.
Well, yeah, you had two big role-playing games going out the same week, and they were trying to make their quarter. And anyway, I remember the frustration of wanting them, because we worked years. What's another month, right?
Exactly.
But they had their reasoning.
So one of the questions I've been posing to all of the Wasteland original team members when I get a chance to have an audience with them, and that is there any real story behind the broken toasters in the original Wasteland and the toaster repair skill? Does that come from somewhere? Or is that just as random as it seems?
I wish I had a great story. If I was really sharp, I'd make one up on the spot. Again, it kind of harkens back to the system we developed for Wasteland, the technicalities of the ability to, I gave the designers the ability to add in anything they could think of and made it really easy for them to add as much detail and little hidden things like that. So, when you're trying to fill out a map with lots of stuff to do, you kind of think of wacky, crazy things, right? It's a broken toaster. It's you get to the end of the level, the highest level is Supreme Jerk. It's, you're hitting the wall, you wouldn't even go to the end of the wall of this map, and if you hit, you've got your balls to the wall, right? Which is a reference to some headbanger song they used to listen to way back in the day.
Well, so I can add one piece of trivia to where the word "the jerk" comes from. Alan was a major software pirate in the 80s, and his handle was the jerk.
Right.
So I know, yeah.
And my fiance and I were just watching the movie the other night, and I told her the story.
About the jerk, yeah.
And that's where the highest level. There's so much stuff in the game that if you played it one way, you would lose the ability to see the other stuff because it took in a one-way path. And I think a lot of people all the time tell me they just played it over and over and over again. And some people say, my record is like 3 hours and 22 minutes to play the whole game through. Right? They just played it enough to know every little thing that they could do. And then I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was a friend of his is a Marine, and he's going to Afghanistan. He's been everywhere. He doesn't call his mom. He doesn't call his parents. He doesn't call anybody back home, except he called my friend and said, there's a Wasteland 2 they're starting up on Kickstarter. Donate money for me. So I got a big kick out of that. And, so just send thanks back from Alan and the team. We appreciate the love and, the remembrance of...
and this is 20 years later, so now it'll be toaster oven repair anyway. So
yeah, something like that.
Toaster repair makes no sense.
It'll be iPad repair.
The iPad repair. The microwave repair.
Can you believe after all these years that Wasteland 2 is a reality?
No, actually, Did
you ever think?
What did you think when I was going to go out and do Kickstarter on it?
I thought it was a fucking great idea. It was a great idea.
Hello, is it
I thought it's about time you figured it's something. I thought it was a great idea, and you showed me the other guys before that. They did that project, raised a bunch of money for that, and you couldn't get any money for it. And going out to the fans, it's mind blowing how many fans contributed. Like 50,000.
What are we now? How many are we at now?
58,801.
It's 58,000.
Unbelievable.
Are we close to me being able to put my socks? Get some socks?
We're approaching stock. I'm refreshing the page now. 2.808 plus almost 100 on the PayPal. That's only
about 90 grand away from socks.
Yeah, I'll buy you some socks. Well, I think it's just thanks to all the fans, and I know everybody that donated couldn't have possibly played it, because I think we sold 100,000 copies, but I'm sure 300,000 people actually might have played it and pirated it, right? I think I actually cracked a copy of it. Got released.
I had a guy yesterday who was emailing me saying he really wanted the $10,000 deal, but he had just got a job and he was paying for something for his parents, and could he make overpayments? I'm like, just keep the money, the poor guy, he was willing to put everything at risk. I'm like, no, please, those aren't the guys we want, to step up.
Figure out a way to do without the extra 10,000
for the shrines,
And I would love to ask you more questions, but to be honest, almost all of the posts are still about Brian's socks. Will there be socks in the game?
Some people want to know what's in the bag.
It's either going to be red.
There's a bag in the corner. People ask me, what's in the bag?
Oh, it's candy.
I'm either going to wear red boots or socks.
There we go. All right, well, thank you very much, Brian Fargo and Alan Pavlish. We'll have someone else in the hot seat very soon.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Are we?
You are live on Interview Cam.
Okay, hi, I'm back. For those of you that don't know, this is Mike Morhaime. He's one of the founders of Blizzard. And so I thought maybe if you guys wanted to shoot a couple questions his way, he'd be willing to answer them. So,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, question number one, does anyone at Blizzard notice this Kickstarter thing going on?
Yeah, you know, I think people are noticing. I think right now everybody's really hard at work on trying to get Diablo 3 out the door, and Mists of Pandaria's in beta, and got Heart of the Swarm under development, so everybody's very busy, heads down, working on things.
I think the biggest question is, how did I teach you everything you know? I mean, that one comes up a lot, I know.
Yeah, well, you know, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, well, no.
Can you tell about some of your experiences working on incredible titles such as Blackthorn?
Yeah, people, you know, they forget that we worked with Blizzard before they were Blizzard. RPM Racing was the first title.
Yep.
And then was Lost Vikings second? Or,
It was, yeah.
And then there was Rock and Roll.
Yep.
Blackthorn.
Yep.
Or Black Hawk, as they called it in the UK because of the beer.
Right.
And then they
Lost
did
Vikings 2 at some point.
Lost Vikings 2. Then they split off and did that crappy little Warcraft thing.
Which you guys distributed for us in France.
No, it was all Europe.
It was all of Europe?
Yeah, it was all
Okay.
Europe. I think they screwed up the box in France.
They actually they localized the manual, but not the game, so the copy protection was totally screwed up.
That's what I remember. They made some mistake. Yeah.
The fans are remembering RPM Racing and Lost Vikings stealing someone's childhood.
Yeah. Well, I can say that, you know, that me and Matt, we put in Rock and Roll Racing hundreds of hours playing that game. It's probably, of all my top 10 most played games, RPM Racing is right up there, honestly.
Yeah,
Well, I remember
all my time. I've never played a title more than that. Never.
I remember Lost Vikings. You had a huge impact on the game because we're actually pretty happy with how it was going. We were drawing all the Vikings from a single palette.
Yeah.
And you said these Vikings look horrible.
So I get credit for the palette changes of the Vikings.
Palette change the Vikings.
I'll update my Wikipedia right now. It was funny, you think about, like, back then, I can think of several titles, I don't know if that one, where we had the developer who said they were done, ship it, right? And the publisher would say, it's not ready. And these days, it's sort of like the opposite, right? The publisher is saying, ship it no matter what. Not in your guys' case, right? But many of the publishers, ship it no matter what. The developer is saying, but we're not done. Ship it anyway, right? So
Yep.
it's sort of been very inverted.
No, it was the opposite, actually. We thought we were done, and you convinced us that we weren't. And that was a huge lesson for us, because we weren't.
Yeah, that's cool.
It made a huge difference.
I mean, obviously, you guys have some major titles going on right now that you're hard to work on, so it's hard to think about some of the French stuff, but the fans are pulling up over Blackthorn and RPM Racing right now. Any chance of revisiting any of those old properties, or are they just lost to time?
I don't know. Did any of you guys buy the Game Boy Advance versions of those things? You know, we did actually buy the rights back from Interplay a while back, so we own all that stuff now.
I have them on Game Boy Advance.
Do you?
Yeah, I'd play them on iPhone or iPad.
Yeah.
Actually.
Get them on iPad.
You guys should port them over that. I would play those again. Those are perfect tablet games.
I know a developer that's pretty familiar with the franchise.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, well, every fourth question scrolling by on my screen here says the words Project Titan.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's an intriguing name, though, isn't it?
Good name for a game.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Thank you. Sorry, my cocktail was delivered.
Well, congratulations on the Kickstarter thing, and great party. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, good. No, I'm glad you came. We're happy to be, just working on a product we love. With no hindrance. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing is the support you got from the community to do it.
Yeah. You know, I've often talked about, you know, it's so rare in the industry. There's so few developers that get to work on what they want